Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he will protect Canada's electric vehicle industry. Canada has already committed tens of billions of dollars to the production of batteries and vehicles. Some of that money is in the form of tax credits, and most of those investments have been done in partnership with provincial governments in both Quebec and Ontario. But it's Premier Doug Ford who is asking Trudeau to go one step further. He's asking the federal government to follow the Biden administration in slapping a 100% tariff on Chinese-made EVs. Ford says it's all about protecting Canadian jobs. Joining me now to talk more about this and about the ask and any possible response is Ontario's Economic Development Minister Vic Fedeli. Welcome back to Power Play, Minister Fedeli.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here today.
So you just heard the Prime Minister there saying that he hasn't ruled out the tariff, but he also hasn't committed to it. So what is your read of where the Canadian government is on this?
Well, today's statement by Premier Ford is all about protecting our jobs and really protecting that end-to-end EV supply chain that we built. We've landed $43 billion in investments here in Ontario in the last 4 years, and that needs to be protected. It's about protecting our trade relationship with the United States, our single largest trading partner. 85% of everything we make in the auto sector goes to the U.S. We've got to do everything we can to protect the auto workers here.
Now, a spokesperson for Deputy Prime Minister Freeland said in a statement to CTV News, China has an intentional state-directed policy of overcapacity. We are actively considering next steps to counter Chinese oversupply. Protecting Canadian jobs, manufacturing, and our free trade relationship is essential. Does that statement give you any kind of comfort that they will do what Premier Ford is asking and slap a 100% tariff on Chinese-made EVs?
Well, we need them to act on that. You know, we know in China there's low labor standards, there's dirty energy, all the things that make these cheap vehicles that they plan to ship. And again, we would call on the federal government to use every tool they have in their toolbox to protect the Canadian workers, making sure that we are using every tool that we have.
When you talk about the tools that are available, what do you think is important in trying in any kind of free market to make sure that Canadian-made vehicles are actually competitive with those Chinese vehicles? Is there not something that we should be doing on our end to make sure that the pricing is in order and competitive?
Well, again, in China, they've got very low labor standards. They've got coal-produced energy. Where we don't. Here in Ontario, we're producing 90+% clean energy. We're making batteries here. We will be making batteries here at 3 battery plants with 100% clean energy. So we are making a vehicle that you would be proud to drive in. It's a true electric vehicle. China, where they have coal-powered steel plants, coal-powered assembly, and very low labor standards. That's exactly why we want to make sure that we continue with our duty-free between Canada and the United States, where we ship 85% of our goods today.
Now, I take your point, and it is a compelling argument, Canada's clean production versus what you're saying is going on in China. But at the same time, your government did scrap Ontario's EV credit in 2018. So if you are that concerned about protecting the investment in Ontario-made EVs, would your government consider bringing back that rebate to incentivize sales in this country and in this province?
Well, don't forget that EV credit was for foreign-made cars. Because we did not make it. At that time, we did not make any electric vehicles in Ontario. We decided instead to invest that money in the workers here in Ontario. You know, that auto sector was on a decline under the previous government. And just like in Australia, we were headed for the bottom. Australia bottomed out. They don't make vehicles there anymore. Premier Ford decided to double down on our auto sector and make sure that we're producing those electric vehicles so that when you do want to buy one, it can be made here in Ontario. And now we see companies ramping up to make electric vehicles here, make batteries here, make the components for battery. $43 billion worth of investments in 4 years alone. That's unprecedented. And by the way, that's larger than any U.S. state. We are #1 in the world, according to Bloomberg, in the global EV supply chain. This is from zero to $43 billion. It's unprecedented.
Minister Fedeli, some critics may sort of counter that you can do both. You can make that investment in EVs and build them here in Canada and in Ontario, and you can also have that rebate because the Canadian government has that rebate on buying an EV. So why wouldn't Ontario want to do that as well to incentivize it?
Well, we see Quebec in their last budget changing their EV rebate from $7,000 down to zero in a couple of years. We see BC rolling back what you can what you can invest in as well. We know that we'd rather see that money put into the plants, into the auto workers. We've added tens of thousands of jobs in the auto sector ever since we decided to double down in the EV sector. And again, we've gone from zero to 43 billion in 4 years, tens of thousands of jobs added. We are doing, and we continue to do more. You'll hear more announcements continuing to come in the EV sector because we are now around the world the most sought after place to arrive to make EV vehicles, to make batteries, and to make EV parts.
At the same time, there are growth forecasts in the EV industry that are remaining a little flat. Last week, General Motors CFO said that the company is trimming its targets for production in 2024. So are you at all concerned that your government has put billions of taxpayer dollars into an industry that may not be taking off in the future the way that you had expected it to?
Well, EV sales were up 31% globally last year, up 49% in Canada last year. Look, the alternative is not doing anything, and that just wasn't going to happen. We saw all of our auto companies coming to the end of their production lines, and it was either we get into the EV business or we lose the 100,000 jobs. Not only did we save the 100,000 jobs, but we've also seen the addition of tens of thousands of jobs in Ontario alone, making parts, making batteries, making battery parts. In St. Thomas, Ontario, the plant that's being built there, it is so massive. It will be the fourth largest building on planet Earth. That's the commitment that we've made. That's the commitment that Nexstar, Volkswagen, Honda have made in batteries. And that's a commitment we're hearing in all of the manufacturers who are coming online, making all of the components for the batteries. This is a sector that has just completely turned around Ontario.
Okay, and just in closing, you haven't yet heard from the federal government yet on whether or not they will consider those tariffs?
Well, we urge them to follow Premier Ford's recommendation. It's all about protecting our trade relationship with our number one trading partner, the U.S. We do almost $500 billion a year in two-way trade between Canada and the U.S., almost equally split as well. We're the U.S.'s third largest trading partner. They are our number one trading partner. This is a remarkable centuries-old relationship that deserves being protected, and we will do everything to protect our trade relationship, to protect those jobs, and to continue to protect that new end-to-end EV supply chain that we've built from scratch.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Ontario's Economic Development Minister Vic Fedeli, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks, Mike.